Rational Roots Theorem Part 2. Without using a calculator, we're going to find all the rational roots for p of x equals 0. And our example is p of x equals x to the third plus 5x squared minus 9x minus 45. So there's a few things that we know about this already. One, we know that it is a cubic, so therefore, since it has a highest power of 3, we're going to have 3 roots. And on this assignment today, they're going to all be rational roots, so they're going to all be able to find them without a calculator. Looking back to yesterday's notes, we have to first figure out what are the possible roots that we could have. And if you remember, what you need to do is you need to take all of the factors of your constant divided by the factors of your leading coefficient. So, the factors of 45, well, I know it's plus or minus 1 and plus or minus 45, because 1 times 45 is 45. 2 does not work, but we do know that 3 times 15, so we know that we can get 3 times 15. 4 doesn't work, that'll get us to 44. 5 will work. You can do plus or minus 5, 5 times 9. And 6 doesn't work, you get 42 and 48. 7 doesn't work, you get 42 and 49. 8 doesn't work. So therefore, those are all of our factors for 45. Now we need to find the factors of 1, plus or minus 1. And then if you remember from yesterday, you would have to do this one divided by that, and 3 divided by 1. So therefore, all of our possible roots for this particular problem will just be plus or minus 1, plus or minus 3, plus or minus 5, plus or minus 9, plus or minus 15, and plus or minus 45. Now that's actually a lot because you got plus or minus, so you've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 possible roots. Now we know, based off of the fact that this is a cubic, only 3 of those will work. So we're going to go ahead and use synthetic division to try to find these. And there's really no way other than just guessing and checking. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and I'm just going to start with positive 1. So with synthetic division, you put the 1 right there, and then you go ahead and you make your chart. And then our values, remember, they have to go in order. So x to the third, x squared, x, and your constant. And so for this, it was a 1 for the x to the third, a 5 for the x squared, a negative 9 in front of the x, and a negative 45. And what we're looking for is we're looking for this to come out to 0. If it doesn't come out to 0, then positive 1 is not an actual root. So bring down the 1 right here. Then do 1 times 1 is 1. 5 plus 1 is 6. 1 times 6 is 6. Negative 9 and 6 is negative 3. And 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. Once you realize that this will not get me to 0, then we know that 1 is not an actual root. Now I'm going to try negative 1. Just doing the same thing, using 1, 5, negative 9, and negative 45. Bring down my 1. That gives me negative 1. 5 minus 1 is 4. Negative 4, negative 13. 1 times negative 13 is 13. Again, that won't get me to 0, so negative 1 is not a root. So now let's try positive 3. And sometimes you might do this and you might say to yourself, skip around, or maybe you think you can look at it and you see one that you think might work. So you don't have to start with 1, but you can. So bring down the 1. 3 times 1 is 3. 5 plus 3 is 8. 3 times 8 is 24. Negative 9 and 24 is going to be a positive 15. 3 times 15 is 45. And negative 45 plus 45 is 0. So what that means is 3 is an actual solution. So we have found one of the 3 actual solutions. Now you could continue on and go with -3 and work that one out and see if that one would work. But since we started out with a cube root, when you use synthetic division, it's always one less. So this particular problem right here is now x squared plus 8x plus 15. And now that we've got it down to a quadratic equation, and since I already told you all of these are going to be real roots, you could use factoring from here if you'd like. So you can continue with synthetic division and just keep working till you find all 3, but there's a lot of solutions there. So we have a whole lot more that we still have to check, okay? So that may not be your best bet. This might be a little bit quicker. Remember, first term times last term, so 15x squared. That will add to get you your middle term. And then we know that 3x times 5x, 3 times 5 is 15, and 3 plus 5 is 8. So therefore, x plus 3 and x plus 5 equals 0. So that means x plus 3 is equal to 0, and x plus 5 is equal to 0. Subtract 3, so you get x equals -3. Subtract 5, so you get x equals -5. So now we know that we have +3, -3, and -5. So my actual roots are going to be plus or minus 3 and a -5. So 1, 2, 3. So we have our 3 roots, which we should have 3 because we started out with a cubic. All right, so you should have all rational roots today. They should all work out. They should be whole numbers, and you can use a variety of methods. Once you go ahead and use synthetic division, after that you could go ahead and do factoring, but you could have also used now 1, 8, and 15. And we already know that -3 works, so bring down the 1, -3, 8 minus 3 is 5, -15. That gets you to 0. And then you would have had x plus 5, and you could have found your last one there as well. So whichever method you prefer, after you use synthetic division at first to kind of work it down, will work. And there are your 3 solutions. Just remember that if you have a cubic, you'll have 3 solutions. If you have a quartic, which means raised to the 4th power, you'd have 4 solutions. Okay, if you have any questions, let me know.